Hello and welcome to the Weaponized Body Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ryan Hewitt, and I'm here as always talking to you about the latest and greatest when it comes to weaponizing your metabolic health, your mindset, and your movement. And today I've got an interesting topic that I've actually not heard anybody else talk about this. This will be interesting to some people. For others, it will be something they have never thought about because it's not, they're not at that point in their life where it matters. And that's weaponizing or absolutely crushing your blood work in your exam when it comes to life insurance premiums. As you get to be my age, 45 years old, you start to think about, well, you start to look at things you spend your money on. And we're probably overinsured at this point, but being a doctor, being a business owner, being a father and husband, and being married to somebody who is, hypersensitive to protection, because she lost her father at a young age. So we do carry, I can't even tell you how many insurances I carry. I mean, there's of course my business insurance, my malpractice insurance, my car insurance, um, my life insurance, and so on and so forth. So, there's thousands and thousands of dollars that we're spending on health insurance. And I'm sure a lot of you out there also similarly have insurance. If you live in the United States, even in Canada, I'm sure that you're carrying some forms of insurances. And with some of those insurances, carries a requirement that you must have an exam. You must have blood work done, and you must have a nurse take your height, your weight, your blood pressure, and then walk you through a little health history exam. So, this podcast, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the conversation and talk to you about what I literally just went through these last 2 weeks. Because what I wanted to do was just absolutely smash these exams to make sure that my blood work looks stellar, that my blood pressure was stellar, that I was absolutely ready for this exam to get that the tip top premium. In other words, uh, be able to spend the least amount of money to get the maximum amount of return because my risk to them in their eyes is extremely low, which is the goal. You may be spending, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in unnecessary premiums that you otherwise wouldn't have to be paying if you just showed up to these exams prepared. Most people, I think, walk into these life insurance exams or, some of this blood work and whatnot completely clueless, and it's literally costing them thousands in premiums. So, over the course of the last 2 weeks, I knew, first of all, I had a primary care visit happening, and I wanted to make sure I showed up prepared for that. And then I also, the next morning, which was this morning, I had a nurse come to my house to draw blood, for one of my life insurance products that we purchased, a whole life variable policy. So, today, what I'm going to do is talk to you about the protocol that I used in order to, smash these exams. So, um, I'm going to tell you first of all, like what insurance companies are looking for, because most people don't even know this. So, they're looking number one at your lipid panel, right? Because they want to know your total cholesterol, your LDL, HDL, and your triglycerides. So the red flags here are, the LDLs, which are, most people know this as your bad cholesterol. So you want to make sure that you're uh, optimizing your LDL health walking into this exam. You want to make sure your HDL is as robust as possible, which is your good cholesterol, and make sure your triglycerides are low. Okay, we'll talk about strategies on how to make sure that is. Your blood glucose. So most of the time, they're only doing your fasting blood sugar. So we'll talk about strategies to make sure your fasting blood sugar is stellar when you do this blood work. Liver enzymes is what they call them. They're actually called transaminases. They look at your AST and your ALT. We'll talk about some things that affect those. Your kidney function, such as your creatinine and your BUN, blood urea nitrogen. Your CBC or your complete blood count. So this is your white and red blood cells, hematocrit, hemoglobin. For men, your PSA or prostate specific antigen. They do what's called a cotinine or tobacco nicotine test. Okay, so for nicotine users, you need to be aware of this. I'll tell you how to make sure you game this properly. Blood pressure, BMI, and heart rate. So this is another. They put a pulse oximeter on your finger. They take your resting pulse as well as your oxygen saturation of your blood. They do your body mass index based on your height and weight, and then your blood pressure. So here's the thing with this exam or with this blood work, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be as best as you possibly can. Uh, and what I mean by that is it could literally be the difference between tens of thousands of dollars, not only that you're spending in premiums, but what you qualify for as far as your risk factors. So it's really important if you want to optimize, your availability of what your life insurance premiums would pay out, but also what you're paying on a monthly basis. So you want to look in their eyes to be as low risk as possible. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about a few things you probably didn't know. We'll talk first of all about things you can do to prepare just in advance. Okay. Um, so, well, let's talk about the morning, maybe the morning of after, but we'll talk about the lead up. So clearly, clearly, you can't really game this blood work. Um, you know, a couple of days before, you can't cram for this exam and expect to ace it if you don't train or exercise, if you are, significantly overweight or obese, and you already have high blood pressure, you're already on cholesterol meds, you already have a high stress job and you sleep like crap, like, you know, this stuff needs to be addressed now, not just for a life insurance exam, but you have to be really on top of your health. And when, I can't I literally could just say this on every podcast is that I'm sure in your life you have hundreds of problems, but when you have a health problem, you only have one problem. There is no more important focus, category, priority, and time and energy that you could spend other than your health, your mental and your physical health. It is just so darn important, you guys. So I'll just take this moment to just encourage you to not get checked, not be preventative, but be proactive. Right. I'm sure most of you are not shocked to hear that you need to move your body. You need to drink water. You need to strength train and do aerobic exercise. You need to eat a protein based whole food diet, and you need to de-stress and have fun and have relationships. I mean, it sounds easy, it's simple, but it's not that easy. So, we're talking about folks that are doing the work, but they want to make sure they step into this exam like optimized as best as they possibly could. Okay? So, here's something interesting you need to know for those of you that train. Do not work out the day before your blood work, nor should you work out the morning of. Now, when I say that, I mean specifically like strength training or intensive exercise. So, exercise it's going to break down some of your muscular tissue, shred and rip through some of your red blood cells. What that does is that produces waste products that your liver and kidneys need to process, which is part of a healthy physiological process of the exercise stimulus. Um, but if that shows up on your blood work, that, for example, your creatine kinase is high, which is a waste product of muscular breakdown. It'll look like your liver enzymes are up, your kidney function is off. So you want to make sure you do not train hard the day before nor the morning of. Okay, usually like 2 days you'll be pretty good. So you want to just be absolutely sure that you don't like shred your body, the day before nor the morning of. Um, Dehydration jacks up your blood work. People are fascinated to know this is that if you're especially chronically dehydrated, what it does is it can raise what's called your hematocrit. So your hematocrit is your red blood cell volume, and plasma is one of those is part of your the volume of your red blood cells. And if your plasma is low, it'll concentrate your red blood cells and your platelets, and it'll look like your hematocrit is high, which in the insurance company's eyes, and actually in the eyes of any good practitioner, your risk of stroke and clot are higher. You want to make sure that you're well hydrated getting into this exam, and you can't really game this the morning of. Part of my advice will be to drink a bunch of water the morning of, but you want to get into this exam hydrated for multiple days before. We're talking like 3 or 4 days out. Make sure you're getting a good 100 to 130 ounces of water for most people, and making sure that, especially the day before, you super hydrate a little bit, and then the morning of. So it's plain and simple. Just get into this exam fully hydrated. It's got to be a good focus, which, by the way, does improve the way that your kidney function and your liver function look also. Now, for TRT users such as myself, okay, if you use any hormones for that matter, but especially testosterone, especially men who are using testosterone supplements or injections, what that can do, especially if you're on a dose that is a little bit too high, what that does is that also concentrates your hematocrit. So it um, testosterone is something that will stimulate what's called EPO, okay, erythropoietin, which increases the production of red blood cells. So it can look like your red blood cell production is higher, hence your hematocrit and your hemoglobin will look high. Okay, so you want to make sure, for TRT users, and this is what I did for this exam, is that I stopped my testosterone for about 8 to 10 days prior to the blood draw. What this does, this allows your body to normalize. It allows your testosterone levels to dip, which does bring down your hemoglobin hematocrit slightly. Um, and your injection, you should make sure it's like no sooner than 7 to 10 days before. Okay, this will make sure that your cholesterol is not affected, your hemoglobin hematocrit is not affected. If it does stimulate a little bit of enzyme activity in your liver, you can make sure that that is as low as possible as well. And I say a week to 10 days, because you will have the desired effects that the life insurance companies are looking for, slightly. But it's not going to put you in a place where, you have to stop for 30 days. Okay. The assumption is that if you're on testosterone replacement, it's for a reason. And you want to make sure your levels don't dip too low. And then you start suffering side effects of being off testosterone for too long. So we're gaming it. So you're off for like 7 to 10 days. So you'll still get the positive effect, but you won't dip too low for too long where you'll become symptomatic. Something you need to be really aware of is your sleep can significantly affect that that blood draw and the results on that blood draw, particularly your fasting blood sugar. One thing that happens when you sleep a full night, okay, your hormones reset, and so does your blood sugar. Okay, your blood sugar should look nice and low in the morning. Okay, at the same time as your cortisol starts to rise, as your testosterone rises, and your fasting blood sugar should be as low as possible. If your fasting blood sugar shows up over high 90s to 100, that's going to be a flag for the insurance company that shows them, okay, this person might have some blood sugar issues, and they're just, deducting marks all along for all the things that, show up as flags. So you don't want your blood sugar to be a flag. What you want is you want your blood sugar to look as stellar as possible that morning of your draw. So one of the factors is not only should you fast, of course, the night before, preferably you're fasting at least 12 hours. 10 hours is fine. 8 hours is pushing it. You definitely want to do like a good 12-hour fast, if not more. And you want to make sure you got a solid sleep the night before. All right. You know what to do to get a good solid night's sleep. Okay. I don't have to do a whole sleep podcast to teach you this again. Making sure you're just getting a really solid sleep. That'll make sure your blood sugar is reset. And not only that, I mean, everything will be more optimal in the morning when it comes to, all of your blood chemistry, but in particular, your fasting blood sugar. I would skip any of the supplements that you take that can affect your blood work, either supplements the day before or the day of. Supplements such as creatine. Okay. A lot of people don't realize creatine will increase your creatinine levels. You don't want those to look high. Okay. Again, that's a flag for a kidney function test, even though it's not really a problem if you take creatine, but they don't know that. So you want to make sure you skip the creatine the day before and the day of. Okay. Do not take any pre workout supplement the day before or the day of. Reason being, that's going to alter your hydration. It's going to alter your kidney and liver function. I mean, who knows what's in some of that pre workout stuff? Um, all the other supplements that you take that might look like fish oil, vitamin D, B vitamins, magnesium, etc. You can take that all the way up to the day before and just skip all of your supplements the day of the draw. You don't need any supplements prior to the draw. Magnesium before bed, obviously fish oil every day, methylated B vitamin, vitamin D. That's my basic stack for almost everybody. But making sure you're not doing any of the creatine or the pre workout the day before or the day of. Now, something really important for nicotine users, and I've actually had this question quite a bit. And I may do a podcast on this because I started to dabble with nicotine myself. Um, and I'm not talking about smoking. I'm talking about the pouches. So the Zins or whatnot. Simply because it is a nootropic. It does help focus and concentration, and I have found that to be the case. I've used 3 milligram nicotine pouches prior to doing any sort of focused, concentrated work, and I do find it effective. Especially with a combination of a bit of caffeine, it's pretty solid. However, you do not want life insurance companies seeing that you have nicotine in your blood. Now, nicotine will clear from your body within a week, but there's something that nicotine breaks down into called cotinine, and cotinine is typically what they will measure because it's a longer lasting um, thing. It's a longer lasting byproduct in the body. So they will figure out if you've used nicotine within 10 days, whether it's like nicotine gum, pouches, but especially if you're a smoker. This advice is more for people who are um, occasional nicotine users. If you're a smoker, you just got to stop smoking. I mean, that shit is just horrible for you. Nobody's got the memo over in Spain yet, though. I tell you what, I was in Spain a couple weeks ago, and it was one of the things that was the most shocking was just how many people smoke over there. We're so used to in the US now, you have to pretty much hide or smoke in your car or on your own property. There's nowhere in public you can smoke anymore. In Spain, they don't give a fuck. You can smoke anywhere you want. Uh, you know, I swear to God, someone was sparking up inside a theater when we were at a flamenco show, but especially like cafes, outdoors, everywhere, every bar, everyone smokes everywhere. But, we know better. Smoking is a horrible health habit. There is not there's literally not a single health benefit to smoking. It is the single most important, preventable death and cancer risk, that you could remove from your life that will save your life, that will extend your life, that will make your life better. Now for the occasional nicotine user, um, do not use nicotine pouches or gum or be around anybody who is a smoker, right? Secondhand smoke, it's a thing, for at least 10 to 14 days. Okay. It's really important. They see nicotine in your blood. That's a big red flag. So let's talk about the prep. So 7-day prep, what you're going to do. We didn't talk about alcohol, but cut alcohol completely for a week as well. For myself, I actually did have a little bit of alcohol 2 weekends ago. But so it's been, yeah, I guess about 10 days. I rarely drink alcohol anymore. It's usually on the occasional weekend and it's maximum 2. For anybody who drinks more frequently, you definitely want to cut it out for 7 days at least. Alcohol will affect your kidney and your liver function, dehydrate you and whatnot. So cutting alcohol out for a week, really critical. Okay. The day before your blood draws, make sure you completely cut out any hardcore exercise. So any high intensity interval, any heavy lifting. You want to make sure you don't do that, especially the day of or the day before, because what that'll do is it'll increase some of the metabolites your kidney and livers need to process. Uh, Increase your hydration to like a gallon of water a day if you don't already, at least 3 to 4 days out. Okay. And then the morning of, what you wanna do is make sure that you're what I did is I drank actually like 60 ounces of water this morning. I get up at 5, my draw was at 9. I just sipped on some water and did like a really light walk jog with my dog, and just sipped a bunch of water. The day before, you wanna make sure you're eating really clean. What I mean by that is like the dinner the night before, you wanna make sure you don't eat a really heavy fatty meal. You wanna make sure it's like a lean protein, vegetables, and a little bit of starch. Something with like fiber, greens, low sugar with a little bit of protein, and your blood sugar should look as stellar as possible 12 hours later in a fasted state with a good sleep. Okay, make sure you prioritize that sleep. Sleep is really, really critical. Make sure you're optimizing and getting a really good rest. Um, with maximizing how your blood work looks, as far as your blood sugar and your cholesterol, is to make sure that you're eating, like I said, lean proteins, some fiber. There are some supplements that do affect your blood sugar and your cholesterol positively. One of them is fish oil. Taking 2 to 3 grams of fish oil, I always do, but at least a week before, start taking 2 grams of fish oil a day. There's a supplement called berberine. Well, by the way, fish oil lowers your triglycerides and improves your total cholesterol. Berberine. Berberine is a cool supplement that can help lower blood sugar. Same with apple cider vinegar. You can mess around with this, within a week before. Start doing berberine at least once a day, and some apple cider vinegar with water. Taking magnesium glycinate, especially before bed, that can help you get a really nice deep sleep, help reset your blood sugar, your blood pressure, etc. And you can even start drinking a little bit of beet juice. Okay, beet juice or like raw cranberry juice, really good for blood sugar, really good for nitric oxide production, which helps with your blood vessels and your blood pressure. Okay. So, like I said, night before, light dinner, lean protein, greens, maybe a small sweet potato, no salty, heavy, sugary, or fatty foods, right? Go to bed, really good sleep, at least, ideally 8 hours. Make sure you fast at least 12 hours. Now, the morning of, I skipped coffee completely. Now they say, yeah, you can drink black coffee. I would just stick to water. Okay, just stick to like at least 30 ounces of water between when you wake to when your draw happens. Um, I'm weary of coffee because coffee is a stimulant. Caffeine can raise your blood pressure and your heart rate. So it stimulates catecholamine production in the body, which increases things like blood sugar, heart rate, blood pressure. So you don't really want that for your draw. So I would skip the coffee until after you have your blood done. And you want to make sure, like this morning, what I did is I took my dog for like a really light jog walk for half an hour. And this was like 2 hours before my draw anyway. Because right before the draw, like 30 minutes before, you want to just sit there and chill. I would recommend maybe doing some meditation, just relax, let your heart rate come down, let your stress levels minimize, let your blood pressure, come down, and just like get in there, just zen, chill, knowing you did the work, knowing that you prepared well, right? By making sure, like, not just the day of, but at least the week of, that you did the work, you had the discipline, right? You skipped the booze, you skipped the nicotine pouches, you didn't drink coffee the morning of, you had a really good sleep, you ate well the week before, and even the night before. You got a really good sleep, you've been taking the supplements, you're well hydrated, you drank a little bit of water that morning. Um, just going in confident, chill, and you'll crush it. Right. So I want you to know this isn't about like cheating the system, right? This is about like showing up as optimal as you possibly can. All right. Like I said, you're not going to be able to game it so much that you won't be flagged for high blood pressure if you're 30 pounds overweight and you eat like crap and you drink too much alcohol and you smoke. Like, doing this stuff isn't going to undo the damage and how that looks on an exam and with blood work. But if you're someone who's relatively healthy, you're doing the work, making sure that you're showing up optimal is just like making sure you get the best possible rating for the work you do, right? Um, This isn't, you're not average, so why let, like, average habits cost you that elite status with your premiums, right? So use your blood work as a scorecard. That should be sort of like, your stats or your facts of where you are, and, yeah, and just make sure you're showing them that you're a healthy guy. You're gonna be around healthy guy or gal. You're gonna be around for a long time, right? Um, and use these habits as something to kind of teach you about what your body needs in order to express optimal physiology. Like this stuff, we're gaming it for some blood work, but listen, like doing a little bit of like fasted cardio in the morning is actually really good for your blood sugar. Making sure you're taking those supplements routinely, really good for your health. Getting really good sleep happens to be really good for your health. I didn't know if you know. Making sure you're eating clean, making sure that you're lifting, but you're also taking time to recover. Those types of lessons, those types of learnings are really important. And what I'm going to put together um, from this podcast is a weaponized blood work protocol on how to game or I shouldn't say game, but how to optimize your blood work um, for exams, for like insurance premium exams. Okay, and if you subscribe, you share, rate, review, always appreciate. Send me your feedback, and I'm going to put it out there with the blood work protocol. So I'm going to be putting that on social media, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I'd love to hear about anybody who has done similar as far as their insurance premiums, and let me know your results. And I will see you guys next week.